This is TechCrunch. Well, Kalshi's legal troubles continue to pile up as Arizona's Attorney General Chris Mays filed criminal charges against the prediction market platform for allegedly operating an illegal gambling business in the state without a license and for election wagering. The 20-count complaint filed in Maricopa County Court on Tuesday accuses the company of engaging in unlicensed gambling activities, claiming that the site accepted bets from Arizona residents on a wide range of events, including state elections, a practice that is illegal in Arizona. Now, the complaint charged Kalshi with 4 counts of election wagering for accepting bets from Arizona residents on the 2028 presidential race, the 2026 Arizona gubernatorial race, the 2026 Arizona Republican gubernatorial primary, and the 2026 Arizona Secretary of State race. This is the first time a state has pursued such charges against the company, according to the Arizona Mirror, and it marks a significant escalation in the battle between states and the prediction market industry. In a statement, Mays said Kalshi may brand itself as a prediction market, but what it's actually doing is running an illegal gambling operation and taking bets on Arizona elections, both of which violate Arizona law. No company gets to decide for itself which laws to follow. It is worth noting that the charges are technically misdemeanors. They follow a small surge of cease and desist letters, lawsuits, and other official actions from states over Kalshi's activities, in which numerous officials have complained that the company is skirting state gambling laws. Conversely, prediction sites like Kalshi have argued that they are not in violation of state law because they are subject to federal regulation via the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. Kalshi may be getting attacked left, right, and center, but the company has also taken its own, often preemptive legal action. Kalshi sued Arizona's Department of Gaming in federal court on March 12th. The company's lawsuit argued that the Arizona's regulatory attempts were intruding into the federal government's exclusive authority to regulate derivatives trading on exchanges. Kalshi also recently sued Iowa and Utah on similar grounds. Mays' office argues that the company is merely trying to avoid accountability, saying Kalshi is making a habit of suing states rather than following their laws. In the last 3 weeks alone, the company has filed lawsuits against Iowa and Utah, and now Arizona. Rather than work within the legal frameworks that states like Arizona have established, Kalshi is running to federal court to try to avoid accountability. Elizabeth Diana, Kalshi's head of communications, called the Arizona criminal charges seriously flawed and a matter of gamesmanship related to the company's own litigation against the state. She said 4 days after Kalshi filed suit in federal court, these charges were filed to circumvent federal court and short-circuit the normal judicial process. They attempt to prevent federal courts from evaluating the case based on the merits, whether Kalshi is subject to exclusive federal jurisdiction. These charges are meritless, and we look forward to fighting them in court. Now, federal officials have signaled that they're on the prediction industry side, setting up a potential regulatory showdown between states and the federal bureaucracy. Michael Selig, chair of the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, recently published an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal in which he accused state governments of having waged legal attacks on the CFTC's authority to regulate such sites. Selig also claimed that his agency would no longer sit idly by while overzealous state governments undermined the agency's exclusive jurisdiction over the industry. So, most enterprise AI projects fail not because companies lack the technology, but because the models they're using do not understand their business. The models are often trained on the internet rather than decades of internal documents, workflows, and institutional knowledge. That gap is where Mistral, the French AI startup, sees an opportunity. On Tuesday, the company announced Mistral Forge, a platform that lets enterprises build custom models trained on their own data. Mistral announced the platform at NVIDIA GTC, which is NVIDIA's annual technology conference, and this year it's focused heavily on AI and agentic models for enterprise. Now, it is a pointed move for Mistral, a company that has built its business on corporate clients, while rivals OpenAI and Anthropic have soared ahead in terms of consumer adoption. CEO Arthur Mensch says Mistral's laser focus on the enterprise is working. The company is on track to surpass $1 billion in annual recurring revenue this year. A big part of doubling down on enterprise is giving companies more control over their data and their AI systems. Now, Mistral says what Forge does is it lets enterprises and governments customize AI models for their specific needs. Several companies in the enterprise AI space already claim to offer similar capabilities, but most focus on fine-tuning existing models or layering proprietary data on top through techniques like retrieval-augmented generation. These approaches don't fundamentally retrain models. Instead, they adapt or query them at runtime using company data. Mistral, by contrast, says it is enabling companies to train models from scratch. In theory, this could address some of the limitations of more common approaches. For example, better handling of non-English or highly domain-specific data, and greater control over model behavior. It could also allow companies to train agentic systems using reinforcement learning and reduce reliance on third-party model providers, avoiding risks like model changes or deprecation. Forge customers can build their custom models using Mistral's wide library of open-weight AI models, which includes small models such as the recently introduced Mistral Small 4. According to its co-founder and chief technologist, Timothy Lacroix, Forge can help unlock more value out of its existing models. He said, "The trade-offs that we make when we build smaller models is that they just cannot be as good on every topic as their larger counterparts, and so the ability to customize them lets us pick what we emphasize and what we drop." Mistral advises on which models and infrastructure to use, but both decisions stay with the customer. And for teams that need more than guidance, Forge comes with Mistral's team of forward-deployed engineers who embed directly with customers to surface the right data and adapt to their needs, a model borrowed from the likes of IBM and Palantir. Mistral has already made Forge available to partners, including Ericsson, the European Space Agency, Italian consulting company Reply, and Singapore's DSO and HTX. Early adopters also include ASML, the Dutch chipmaker that led Mistral's Series C round last September at an 11.7 billion euro valuation, which is around $13.8 billion. These partnerships are emblematic of what Mistral expects Forge's main use cases to be. According to the company's chief revenue officer, these include governments who need to tailor models for their language and culture, financial players with high compliance requirements, manufacturers with customization needs, and tech companies that need to tune models to their code base. That's all for now. For more stories like these, go to TechCrunch.com.